Jayanji, I want to come to you first. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said, I don't want to be adventurous, I want to keep things low-key, and she actually delivered on that, because usually, like in 2019 when Piyush Goyal presented the interim budget, there was a lot of populism in that, but that came on the back of 3 defeats in the heartland states. Is the government seeking to send a sense of confidence that we'll be back, and when we are back we'll deal with the rest of the stuff?
When the Modi Sarkar is back for its 3rd term, Rahulji, we are going to follow a roadmap that will deliver Viksit Bharat in the next 2 decades or so. And what we saw in the interim budget today was really a demonstration of that framework. And that really rests on 4 or 5 very important pillars. Number 1, we are going to build a Viksit Bharat on the basis of 4 pillars. By inclusive growth of poor people, yuvas, annadatas, nari shakti. So that whole 4-pillar framework is there very strongly. Second, capex, which I think everybody here is going to relate to, is going to continue to invest in capex. Number 3 is innovation. There's a very important announcement this time around 1 lakh crores being available for innovation. So forward-looking, futuristic innovation is very important. And then finally, the 4th item that I think we should all pay heed to is the fact that consistently we've pursued inclusive growth by bringing all people into the Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas framework and taking advantage of India's demographics. So this is the framework that has been...
Gaurav Vallabh, often in Parliament, when the Finance Minister presents her budget, the opposition bench is up in arms and trying to create a ruckus on some issue or the other. This was amongst the most peaceful budgets we've had. Did the opposition not find anything to target Jayanji and the BJP for?
Rahul, I just want to answer Jayanji and the BJP because he gave 4 pillars. Number 1 pillar, youth. You will be surprised, and I am quoting India Today data, that Finance Minister had used maximum time the term PM and tax, and the term jobs and employment was missing at all.
Okay, so that's from our word cloud. I'll just ask our producers to pull up that word cloud file up on the screen. It's interesting for what it mentions, interesting also for what it doesn't mention. So you're looking to make the point that tax is mentioned 42 times in this budget speech. Prime Minister Modi is mentioned 42 times. Policy 35 times. Growth 14 times. Bharat 24 times.
So Rahul, the budget is focused on tax and Prime Minister, not on 4 pillars what Jayanji had just now conveyed to all of us.
He's a clever professor. So he's found that one and he said, okay, let me land one.
As like all professors, he's just playing with numbers.
No. Second point, what the Yuva or youth was asking for. As per the latest survey of CMIE, during the quarter ending December 23, the unemployment rate in the age group of 20 to 24 is 44.5%. The unemployment rate in our young population is 24%, whereas Bangladesh had youth unemployment rate as 12%. Why we can't address this? Is it out of course?
Okay.
Is talking about employment is out of course?
There isn't enough conversation around jobs, unemployment, which is where the government's primary focus should really be directed. Are you trying to skirt around that issue?
Absolutely not. As I said, the second pillar is youth. And what's most important for youth is education,
it doesn't talk about how to bring about jobs.
No, there is a lot in this interim budget and in all of our past policies about skilling, about getting colleges and universities and aims and all of that set up. And of course, if you look at the data, which I'm sure Professor Saab will be interested in as well, if you look at the PLFS data, if you look at the EPFO data, all of those are indicating that unemployment right now is actually at historic lows and that there are jobs aplenty for everyone with the necessary skills and training, and which is really what we are focusing on.
So I want to go across
and by the way,
the
let me
table.
Just conclude just one more thing, which is India's great strength towards Viksit Bharat is going to be a young workforce.
Sanjeev Puri, one of the concerns is around the consumption story and whether or not we're seeing a K-shaped recovery, given the fact that you're retailing in different parts across different income categories. Where do you come out on the concern that the opposition and several left-leaning economists raise that the consumption story is highly skewed, the rich are consuming more, they're thinking those sitting here aren't feeling the pinch, but those who are in Hazaribagh and elsewhere are not thinking that things are very good, and that comes out in the consumption numbers.
See, Rahul, I think we must put this into a little perspective. See, first of all, consumption and economic progress are not items that are divorced from each other.
Sure.
Right? There may be transitory gaps in the two. But these are purely transitory gaps in my view. Ultimately, when the nation progresses, when economy progresses, naturally jobs will get created, naturally consumption will go up, right? We may be seeing some kind of a transitory gap at some moments of time, but we also need to look at it. This is in the backdrop of plenty of shocks that the economy has gone through, and I must say we've handled it much better than the rest of the world. There's a shock of the COVID, there's a shock of the inflation induced by geopolitics, and there are the challenges of extreme weather events that have created some challenges.
No, but at a more basal level, it shows that real wages aren't going up, which is why consumption isn't going up, which is why companies like yours and others aren't being able to sell at the lower part of the pyramid like they should be.
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. It may be a transitory at some moment of time, but ultimately the two cannot be divorced. How can you make economic progress if consumption is not there? At a moment of time, you see, ultimately, what is the budget trying to do? See, what is the vision of the government trying to do? It's about unlocking the productive potential of the nation. As Jayantji said, it's through skilling, it's through creating public infrastructure, digital infrastructure, empowering and making the economy competitive. It's about look at sectoral focus in agriculture. There were certain sectors clearly called out. Oil seeds, aqua, huge potential for India, dairy. There is also a very important facet of reform. A lot of the reforms that need to happen in future involve the state. So this whole innovative idea of incentivizing...
How do you explain
let me just complete this because it's linked to this. See, the whole innovative idea of incentivizing state to progress reforms is important because in the past, for example, the farm-related reforms got stuck, right? And today, even some of the renewable energy-related issues are stuck at the last mile. So all of these are going to unlock the potential productive, and this, when the potential is unlocked, naturally there will be progress, incomes will rise.
How do you explain the consumption conundrum? The fact that the government seeks to convey the sense that the economy in all aspects is doing well. The data for consumption seems to suggest that at the lower part of the pyramid, people don't have that much money to go out and buy more goods.
Two-part answer. Number one, if you look at consumption, really the focus has been on rural consumption, not urban consumption. And second, it's been very quarter to quarter and short term. We have to look at it over a slightly longer term period because we're coming off COVID. And the rebound from COVID was very strong. And so when you look at a quarter to quarter, year-on-year comparison of a very strong COVID rebound, you're going to get a bit of a slowdown as well. So we are seeing a little bit of that. It's very transitory. Second, the amount of stimulus, the amount of inputs that are going into the rural economy right now are going to, over the next year or two, really result in dramatic growth in rural consumption as well. And there I'm going to point to things like the capex boost that we provided, the agriculture infrastructure fund of 1 lakh crores, which is going in right now for cold storage, the continued focus on food processing. All of these are longer term measures that will take us beyond the COVID rebound and into strong sustained growth. And that really is the focus of Viksit Bharat. India's growth potential is 7 to 8% a year. We are there right now. That's what we have to sustain. Only comes through investments in the urban economy and the rural economy.